Drew DeArmond, I hope you're doing well. Welcome into the game in T-Town.
Always great to be back on with you in Tuscaloosa, Ryan. What's going on with you and Marquise? As you know, my man Marquise made his Talkin Ball debut yesterday as we wrapped up basketball, which I know is far from your mind in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, we're not going to talk basketball until next January is our next plan. I was looking at the schedule, the itinerary, and I think the next time we are scheduled to talk about basketball is January the 17th of 2019.
Well, I know that'll be tough on Marquise, but
and
he can always
Marquise
come on Talkin Ball and talk some hoops.
And he's looking at me just shaking his head right now going, man, I can't. Hey, I'm going to – but yeah, if you'll do that for us, if you can help Marquise out by talking basketball, it will really – I mean, it would be a nice favor to all of us. We really appreciate it because Marquise, we need him to travel into today, being stress-free. So we appreciate so he was on Tide Tuesday?
Yes, he was. Crimson Tide Tuesday with Marquise Munson, the executive producer and brand manager of Tide 102.9 and the game.
Now, how about War Eagle Wednesday? When is he going to get the call for War Eagle Wednesday? Because, he's got a lot of Auburn comments from time to time. I mean, I think you could do him and Brandon Marcello the same day.
Well, we did talk to Brandon Marcello this morning, had some interesting comments about Bruce Pearl and his future at Auburn and also their spring practice going on in football. But Marquise is welcome to join the game any day he would like. Talkin Ball any day he would like after, of course, he will produce the game. But he's any morning Marquise would like to join our show, he's welcome.
Oh, you won't be able to get him out of there now. I mean, did you hear that? That's an open invitation, Marquise Munson.
Absolutely. So I've already talked to Drew about me possibly making that transition to Huntsville instead of – because you don't appreciate me, Ryan Fowler. Sometimes you just don't appreciate me.
Well, yeah, but I just know the numbers, man. I mean, I had 4 people yesterday on this program tell me they were about to quit listening to us if we talked more basketball. So
we didn't say anything about basketball, did we?
Yeah, but we had people that threatened us yesterday. I mean, Drew, I had 3 people out here on the back about to flip my truck if I brought up basketball again. Like, we were going to do a Sweet 16 second chance bracket, and we just decided not to even do it.
Well, it's just going to depend. I mean, I can understand now, basketball is over. Alabama is, put the balls up until, next October. So I can understand the fans wanting to move on. There's a lot of conversation to have.
All right.
Nick Saban spoke to the media yesterday, and we all know that it was a unfortunate situation yesterday with Tua Tagovailoa and with Gardner Minshew, so there was a lot to talk about football-wise in Tuscaloosa.
All right, so let's start with Tua Tagovailoa. When you hear Nick Saban say that Tua was hurt during practice, give me your instant reaction as you were listening to it and listen to Nick Saban tell us that Tua had been hurt in practice.
Just disappointed. I mean, I think everyone's we've only gotten a taste of what Tua can accomplish at Alabama, and it's been some of the best we've ever seen. Everyone was wanting to see him, continue to take the reins of this football team and take hold of that QB1 spot. It's disappointing. We probably won't see him do much the rest of the spring, but as I tweeted to someone yesterday, shortly after the press conference, it's just delaying the inevitable. Tua Tagovailoa is a special talent. He'll be back by May. I mean, going full bore and continuing to, in my opinion, to win this quarterback position. It does give Jalen Hurts a chance to continue to work on his game and get a lot of quality reps, and Mac Jones. And I think Mac Jones is the kind of quarterback Dan Enos really likes. I'm anxious to see, the weight gains Mac has had. He made some nice plays last year in the spring. Anxious to see how much progress he's made from one year to the next, and to see, where he may fit in the pecking order.
All right, so anything that you can give us about the latest with Tua Tagovailoa from your perspective, anything that you would like to share with us that you can maybe give us more insight?
Well, yeah, I mean, what I'm hearing is it's a small broken bone in his hand. I'm not really sure it's a thumb injury, officially, but I think I'm hearing he'll be back in about 6 weeks, which would, as I was saying, May would be the target. He might be able to do a few things during the spring, but it's going to take him out of, I would think, most drill work. And, of course, he might be healthy before the A-Day game, but I think that's being optimistic. I know Chris Lowe reported that. I wouldn't expect him to do anything on A-Day. They're not going to risk it. They know what they have in Tua. He's a special talent. And, from what I understand, before he went down yesterday and hit his hand on someone's helmet, he was lighting it up, as always, and no one's surprised by that. He's been throwing a lot with these receivers, getting his timing down. And I know these few weeks of spring practice, not being able to work with these receivers, yeah, it's a little bit of a setback, but nothing that he can't overcome in the summer because, quite frankly, Ryan, he lit it up on the biggest stage in college football in the second half against Georgia when down 13-0, and he hadn't played much in the last 5 games. And I know he had started to get more reps in practice, but and even in some cases splitting 50-50 with Jalen, but there's nothing like live game action. We've seen what he can do, and I do believe he won't miss a beat when he comes back healthy.
Let me ask you, in your opinion, does this impact the quarterback competition?
No, not at all. To me, I think that Jalen Hurts is going to get a chance to improve and continue to get a lot of reps, but you can't deny how good Tua Tagovailoa is. I mean, he's a special talent. At worst, it was atop the depth chart. There was an or there, and I just think eventually when Tua comes back, the cream is going to rise to the top. You cannot coach, the gifts that Tua has, the accuracy, the decision making, the arm talent. I think Jalen can improve, but let's not get it twisted. He's not going to morph into Bart Starr in 6 weeks.
Well, and to go back to looking at Jalen, maybe if you want to look at this from a positive perspective, then maybe this is that keeps Jalen in the competition and allows him to stay on campus. Even if
absolutely.
Okay, go pick it from there. Pick up from there.
Yeah. What it ensures to me for Alabama, this could be a blessing in disguise. Of course, there was always a lot of speculation about Jalen's future. I always felt like before this happened that before we knew about the Gardner Minshew situation, that Gardner was being brought in to be a kind of a bridge or a insurance policy, and that we would see Jalen Hurts likely make a decision on his future in July or August. Now, without Gardner Minshew going to Washington State, I just really think overall that what we'll see, it ensures I think Jalen will stay in the competition, will stay in Tuscaloosa. It's very important that he stays now, and I think it'll give him a chance to continue to compete. And I think overall, it ensures that Alabama will have the best quarterback situation in all of college football because you'll have a healthy Tua Tagovailoa, who to me is going to be QB1. You'd have a backup quarterback who will likely see action, and a guy that's won 26 games, led his team to an SEC championship, led him to the college football playoff twice, including a win, two semifinal wins over Washington and Clemson. So I think with Jalen Hurts, he'd be extremely valuable. There'd be no one else in the country that would have a situation like that. And then you've got a guy like Mac Jones, who I still think is another great young QB, guy with a lot of potential. So now you can't afford any injuries to those three because you really don't want to have to ever be down to 2 scholarship QBs. But hopefully this will be a minor setback for Tua and he can get healthy. But again, I think what it ensures is that we'll see Jalen Hurts for the 2018 season in Tuscaloosa, and Tua Tagovailoa will, in my opinion, still be the starter for this team. But Jalen Hurts will have a role on the football team, and then from that point forward, going into his senior season, we'll see what happens. Could be a graduate transfer type situation, and I couldn't blame him. But I do think for the foreseeable future, Nick Saban will manage this, and that Alabama will have a great quarterback situation going forward.
Let me ask you, when you look at quarterbacks, you've got Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa, Mac Jones. Now with Tua's injury, you've got a guy named Kyle Edwards, which is a walk-on from Springfield, Virginia, at Lake Braddock Secondary School there. When you look at quarterbacks, right now they've got 3 healthy quarterbacks. One's a walk-on, 2 scholarship guys. That really puts a lot of stress on these 3 quarterbacks, throwing reps at practice, going through passes. I mean, that's a lot. And this obviously can help you, but it could also put a lot of stress on those quarterbacks as well.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think that you could see some more quarterbacks be worked into the equation as far as maybe another walk-on or so to help with the throwing. I mean, there's even a possibility, Slade Bolden, if needed in an emergency situation, he's working at safety right now, but he played a lot of high school quarterback. If they needed to come in there and work some drills and throw to some receivers, they could do that as well. But instead of it does put some strain on there, but it also gives you a chance. And I'm sure they're going to put him on some pitch counts, but it also gives Mac Jones a chance to grow immeasurably. It gives Jalen a chance to continue to work on his accuracy and decision making and mechanics overall. I think in a way it could be, for both Mac and for Jalen Hurts, it could be kind of a blessing in disguise. But again, when Tua comes back, there's just no denying his talent. He's a transcendent talent. I know we've only seen a small sample size, but my answer to that question is when people say, well, Georgia wasn't prepared for him, or he's only done it for a half. He helped win a national championship. He made the best offensive play in Alabama football history. How much better do you think that Tua Tagovailoa can get the more he plays? Because we've seen Jalen, we've seen his. We have a pretty good body of work from him in 2 years, but we've only seen small, sample sizes from Tua, but it's been spectacular, and it's really scary to think about how much better he could get.
Drew, did you sense a frustration from Nick Saban yesterday? I mean, I know he was just told his starting quarterback or potentially his starting quarterback or 1A, 1B, or however you want to describe it, had just got hurt and the injury news. But I sensed a little Nick Saban frustration during that press conference yesterday.
Well, yeah, no question about it. I mean, because let's be honest. I mean, they've made some changes on their staff. They've gotten younger. He brought Dan Enos in here to help develop Tua Tagovailoa and continue to help him get better. I mean, yeah, he was going to work with Jalen Hurts as well, but everybody saw what Tua did in the national championship game. And Mike Loxley, I know he has a strong belief in Tua Tagovailoa. They've been building an offense around him, and you wanted him to continue to get timing down with these receivers and continue to get reps and continue to get better. And I think everybody was wanting to see him, and I think the fans are going to be disappointed because now you won't see him at A-Day. I think it takes a lot of the buzz away from that, because a lot of people, they want to see this kid play, Ryan, because he's special. I mean, when you come on against Georgia and you hit 9 different receivers in the second half and you rip the heart out of Kirby Smart, and make them watch Herschel Walker DVDs for 365 more days, everybody wants to see more of that. Because, I mean, it was just a legendary-type performance. It was something that we hadn't seen in Tuscaloosa in a long, long time. And, I mean, it just whets your appetite to want to see what this kid can do with the array of weapons that are going to be around him.
What else was the other takeaway, even though it's hard to say what was your second comment, but anything else that really Nick Saban said that grabbed you?
Well, I think I just kind of, hearing what he had to say, about the offensive line and some of the combinations they're going to try. I mean, he talked a little bit about that. They're going to take a look at a lot of different guys. I think they're very excited. And what he said about Devonta Smith as well. I mean, but I expected that. I mean, they don't have enough bodies right now at DB because the rest of that signing class is not going to be here until May. So Devonta Smith, I thought that was interesting. It just shows, I think, how much confidence he has in Devonta as a playmaker and as an athlete. But again, with the offensive line, I'm excited about that. They're working Ross Pierce-Baker there at center. I think that's a natural progression. But then you start hearing about, wondering how they're going to handle Jonah Williams. He's going to probably work at multiple positions. You've got a guy like Jedrick Wills, who can I think is going to take some steps forward as a young player that I think they're really looking forward to working with. But again, I think overall this offensive line can be even better than it was last year. I think it's going to be very talented, and I'm just anxious to kind of see. He talked about Matt Womack being out, and I think he was disappointed in that too because they really think Matt's a worker. But it gives a guy like Wills a chance to continue to get better fundamentally and to continue to get more confident. And then it gives other young players. we haven't talked too much about it, but it gives a Josh Casher a chance to really impress the coaching staff. No question about that. He's a really good young football player who can really play. And that's what it's about in spring. It's about trying combinations out, seeing who can play where. And I think really they're going to be able to develop almost 10 offensive linemen and be too deep at the position, and that should make Brent Key really, really happy.
You look at these coaches, even Nick Saban was talking about it. I think there's a lot of excitement within these new coaches and the energy and the youth that they bring to this coaching staff and to this coaching room. It seems to be, I don't know, maybe lit a fire under Nick Saban.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's, for one thing, I think he wants to process Kirby Freeze. I mean, smart, because, I think he was talking through Chris Lowe. You heard what he said about people talking about him, nearing the end and retiring and things like that. And I think that just motivates Nick Saban to show that he's still hungry, that he can still put together a great coaching staff. As he pointed out, he's put together young staffs at LSU. He put together a young staff at Michigan State. They did very well. And then I thought it was interesting what he said about Burton Burns as well. Burton Burns still being involved in the program, watching film, really being excited about his new role. And as we all knew, it was Burton Burns' idea to do that. He was ready to step away from coaching, but he'll be there to assist Joe Panunzio. So, yeah, I think this staff has got him re-energized. I think they're going to do a great job recruiting and teaching, and really anxious to see what they can do with the talent on hand, because I know the injuries are unfortunate and some of these guys are going to miss spring, but I'll tell you this, it'll make fall camp. People are going to be counting down the days, Ryan, until July and August come around where they can see a lot of these guys come back and be on the practice field.
Drew DeArmond, Drew D 977 ESPN, Drew D 977 ESPN. Drew, as always, thank you again for your time, man. I hope you have a great afternoon. I always appreciate the conversation.
Absolutely. You and Marquise have a great afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Hey, and make sure you keep that, Kirby Freeze, smart guy in line, okay?
Yeah, always love poking fun at Kirby since right now he is the hunted, and we'll see if he can handle it. He certainly didn't handle the second half of the national championship game very well.